Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Cowboys decision firm on bringing back starter with ties to Mike Zimmer. There are a few things that Jron Kearse had going for him heading into 2024 free agency that might have nudged the Cowboys into re-upping with him. For one thing, he was consistently available, playing 46 of 51 games in the last 3 seasons, including 42 starts. For another thing, he began his career as an undrafted free agent signed by Mike Zimmer's Vikings, and Zimmer is now the Cowboys' defensive coordinator. He was also flexible, and despite being a safety and defensive back his whole career, filled in at linebacker when the Cowboys needed it. But there were a few things working against Kearse too. For starters, there is the general exorcism of free agents from the Cowboys roster that took place this offseason. 8 Cowboys free agents have signed elsewhere, and more are likely to come. For another thing, there is the general devaluing of safeties that has gone on across the NFL. The Dallas Morning News noted on Friday that Kearse is all but done with the Cowboys after 3 seasons. Jron Kearse, the safety-turned-weak-side linebacker who covered wide receivers and provided an emotional lift, remains unsigned in the free agent market with little chance of returning, beat writer Calvin Watkins wrote. Jron Kearse spent 3 seasons in Dallas. Kearse originally signed a 2-year, $10 million contract with the Cowboys in 2021 and followed that up with a 1-year deal last year. He became more of a linebacker-safety hybrid, a role that has grown increasingly popular across the NFL under former Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, and was forced to play more on the second level in 2023 with the injury to Leighton Vander Esch. Before the season, Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy said, "JK is so versatile. I go back to when he was in Minnesota and I was across the way in Green Bay. He was so impactful on special teams, and with his opportunities, he's come in here and kind of created that role as far as versatility. You always talk about matchups. It's usually how the offense will create matchups for themselves, but we feel that JK's versatility creates matchups for us to take pieces away." Cowboys will have more linebackers playing linebacker. The numbers were not great, though. Kearse, who is 30 now, did not play particularly well, in part because he was being asked to play out of position, but probably in part because his best football days are behind him. In 860 snaps, Pro Football Focus graded him at a 44.9, which was 94th out of 95 safeties in the league. Ironically, the hiring of Zimmer, despite his past ties with Kearse, probably doomed his potential return to Dallas. Zimmer's defenses don't call for undersized linebacker. He wants beef. Hybrids are out, and Zimmer wants his linebackers to be linebackers. As it stands, the Cowboys have rebuilt their linebacking core alongside returning starter Damone Clark. The team landed Eric Kendricks in free agency to start at middle linebacker and drafted Maris Lufau in the 3rd round. They're also hopeful they'll get an impact from 2023 3rd-rounder DeMarvion Overshown, who missed all of last season with a torn ACL. "I'm on track," Overshown said at OTAs this week. "I'm definitely ahead of schedule, and I feel like I've been saying that since I got the surgery. I've been ready to come back so fast." Cowboys urged to add 69 sack pass rusher to fill roster hole. It has been quite a career for Yannick Ngakoue, especially in recent years. He went from a Pro Bowler in his 2nd season with the Jaguars to locked into a contract confrontation that ended with him traded to Minnesota, which then traded him to Baltimore later in the season. And that was just 2020. He then went from the Raiders to the Colts to the Bears in the past 3 seasons. A talented veteran with a bizarre recent history. Sounds just about right for the Cowboys, doesn't it? His status as a realtor's favorite notwithstanding, Ngakoue is an NFL free agent who has 2 other qualities that should interest the Cowboys. He can pressure the quarterback, and given the current NFL calendar, he can be had on the cheap. The Cowboys have one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, of course, in Micah Parsons, and have an ideal complement on the other side in DeMarcus Lawrence. But depth is still an issue, and the Cowboys are likely to rely on 2nd-round rookie Marshon Kneeland. Last year's primary backup, Doris Armstrong, left for the Commanders in free agency. A veteran depth piece would be useful. And at CBS Sports, they're advocating Ngakoue to be that depth piece. Cowboys took hits in free agency. The Cowboys, of course, were decimated in free agency, with 8 players so far leaving the team to sign elsewhere. A few more, Stephon Gilmore, Jron Kearse, are likely to follow. The Cowboys have not done much to replace those players, instead relying on the draft. That's where Kneeland could come in, but the Cowboys could use a plan B. That's Ngakoue. As CBS's Garrett Podale wrote, should the Cowboys to be looking to replace Armstrong's production, journeyman edge rusher Yannick Ngakoue, who will be 29 years old in his 9th NFL season in 2024, could help fill in the gap in the pass rush department. He doesn't have a reputation for being a huge factor in the run game, but his 69.0 career sacks rank as the 9th most in the NFL since entering the league in 2016. That total is just above Chargers Pro Bowl edge rusher Joey Bosa, 67.0, and below Chiefs All-Pro defensive tackle Chris Jones, 75.0, in that span. Ngakoue can be a situational pass rusher, working on third downs to add some pressure on the quarterback. The Cowboys were the number 2 team in pass rushing last year, per Pro Football Focus, and obviously want to stay near the top of the league. Marshon, Kneeland, an exciting rookie. The Cowboys, of course, are dealing with a tricky cap situation, and it will help that they could get Ngakoue for a veteran minimum deal. Ultimately, the Cowboys see Kneeland, who played at Western Michigan, being a key contributor, but Ngakoue can be a bridge in that respect and a mentor. Kneeland is known for his motor, but learning the finer points will have to come from the talented veterans around him. The number one thing about him is the high effort and motor that he plays with. Cowboys VP Will McClay said of Kneeland, then to be talented, physically talented enough to play at this level. We noticed him early on. Brett Maxey is the area scout who brought him to our attention early. And the more you watch him, the more you see NFL traits and the traits that we are looking for on the defensive side. Playing hard all the time and having the ability to rush the passer outside and inside. We've talked about it before. As hard as D-Law DeMarcus Lawrence played at Boise State, there are some similarities there. That is what we thought about him. Dak Prescott could make franchise history next season. Dak Prescott has gotten a good amount of criticism over the years, and while some of it has to do with his shortcomings, some of it comes with the territory of being the Dallas Cowboys' starting quarterback. The storied franchise has had a few other outstanding quarterbacks in the past, a couple of whom are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and naturally, Prescott is compared and contrasted with them, especially by Cowboys fans. This coming season, as RJ Ochoa pointed out, Prescott will be in position to surpass the legendary Troy Aikman in career passing yards to reach number 2 in Cowboys history in that category. In fact, if Prescott has a very prolific 2024, he could also surpass Tony Romo, who is currently the franchise's all-time leader in career passing yards by the end of the season. The Mississippi State University product had an excellent 2023 season in which he threw for 4,516 yards and led the NFL with 36 touchdown passes. For a minute late in the season, he was a leading MVP candidate, but a couple of tough losses to the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins in December ended his bid for the award. Indeed, Prescott's poor play in big games is the main bone of contention for him, and he has yet to prove that he can be relied on to raise his game in the playoffs.